So we know the topic of this month's live stream. We're going to get information on the UI progress and process, which I think we've probably seen a lot of the UI in the last few months. In the live streams, they've kind of hinted at the UI a little bit, but maybe we'll get some details on behind the scenes and how it's actually developed, and maybe some UI customization, things like that. We'll talk about it, but I think maybe we could see a few more things, and it might be more interesting than we think, but I have a feeling it's not going to be the most exciting live stream by any means. I don't think it'll build hype back up a whole lot, but we'll see. Steven in Discord said that they were either going to do UI changes or the Tower of Carfin. Ultimately, obviously, they decided to do UI changes, so that means to me that Tower of Carfin is probably up next in March. And I think after that, we'll get the Cyclops World Boss, because that was hinted to be 2 to 3 months out in the December live stream by Steven. And both of those things, I think, would do a lot to bring the hype back up a little bit, because currently we are at the lowest level on Google Trends for Ashes of Creation that we have been in the last year. And I think that's probably going to keep going lower. And then after this live stream, we'll get a small bump, and then it's going to go even lower, most likely, unless the UI surprises and they maybe sneak in some other information alongside the UI. We'll have to see, I guess. Now, Google Trends isn't, of course, the perfect proxy for hype or anything like that, because all it is the trends surrounding the search term Ashes of Creation, which people are not going to be searching if they already know what Ashes is and they're waiting for a bigger announcement before they start searching again. So it's not a perfect metric, but it's about the only thing we have. If you do want to speculate based on when we first saw a raid boss for Alpha 1 versus when we finally got Alpha 1, we saw a raid boss in April of 21, late April of 21, and then we got Alpha 1 a few months after that. There was actually spot testing going on at the time when we got that. And then July 14 is when it officially launched. So it was only a few months after that. Does that mean that'll be the same for Alpha 2? Not necessarily, because Alpha 2 is a much, much bigger deal than what Alpha 1 was. Alpha 1 was a lot of placeholder stuff. Alpha 2 is the actual game, and it's much larger in scope. However, Alpha 2 is not going to be feature complete at the start of Alpha 2. We learned that very recently. So that does leave me to believe that there is a chance we see it in 2023. A lot of people are saying 24. I think there's a good chance we still see it this year, but it might be pretty late in the year. But who knows? Nobody knows. I'm not sure even Steven knows. Things that maybe we could see from the UI. I'd love to see some of the customization options that they have talked about. In Wiki, you can read through a lot of these things. Things like hover over casting and double tap application of AoE effects out in the cursor location. You know, for me, I typically, when I'm learning a character, I'll leave the hover over and stuff like that on, but I like to eventually turn that off. And I like my skills to engage on button press down. So I hope there's like options like that, because it's just quicker. Once you've learned where the AoE will land, you can just place your cursor where you want it to go, hit the button, and on press down, it engages. That's what I hope to see, that kind of option. Also, spell effects. The spell effects are kind of over the top currently, and I would like to see if they've got customization options to be able to turn those down yet. Now, I will say, I don't think they've got any of that yet, so I don't think we're going to see it. I don't think we're going to see any UI customization just yet. I could be wrong. I hope we see it. I don't think we're going to see it yet. I think we're just going to see the UI, and I don't think they have customization really in place yet, but that's just a guess on my part. I think they still have a long ways to go on this game, so that's kind of where I'm sitting. Another thing I would like to see is like in-depth customization of the UI. And I think, personally, the game that did it the best was Final Fantasy XIV. I think it had fantastic UI customization, and they had to write entire guides. There's huge YouTube videos out there on how to do it. It is complex. Maybe not the most user-friendly thing, but you can do virtually anything with that UI without needing any add-ons, because they don't have official add-on support. And Ashes is doing the same thing, right? They're not going to have official add-on support. So the customization needs to be on point. It needs to be really good. I would also like to, on top of all these things and be able to save all this stuff, I would love if there was a UI export button to where you could share it with other people. Now, I know that doesn't always work all that well because everybody has different screen sizes, different resolutions, things like that. And maybe they could figure out a way to make that adjust automatically for your computer and your screen size. Probably not. You might still have to adjust some things, but even having a basis to start from would be kind of nice. And that is basically it, guys. I know I haven't made a whole lot of Ashes videos, but the thing is, the hype has died way down, and honestly, I don't have anything else left to talk about in terms of speculation. I've done a lot of my speculative videos, and I just don't know what else to do regarding Ashes. That's why I've kind of been on the Throne and Liberty train a little bit. But I am very much still most interested in Ashes of Creation long term, and I plan to cover it when we get information, as we get information. And I do have a few things potentially planned for Ashes in the next few months. We'll have to see on that. With that, guys, if you liked the video, consider subscribing. See ya in the next one.